Happy to be here again for another Wednesday night. And Alexis, hello, how are you?
Hello, I'm doing okay. I'm like not sleeping that well. I'm a couple days from my period, so my mood's a little crabby, a little blah, but overall pretty good. I can't complain. And it's raining, which fuels my fire, so that at least alleviates some of that
Yeah.
annoyance. But how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. My days have waxed and waned for the past couple of days. Like if you would ask me this yesterday, I was completely exhausted and depressed. And today am not. I feel very like manic and just the back and forth is really weird. And so I we were talking about before we got on how Alexis and our cycles orbit one another. And
Hmm.
so it's like I'm in the ovulation phase where it's like for those of you who aren't familiar, it's kind of like the full moon phase where it's just like you have
Yep.
a lot of energy and there's just a lot you have to release. And I felt really inspired today. I've gotten some things done. And Alexa's on the other end of the spectrum where it's like the release and coming into the rest and all of that. So it's nice to have that balance here where we both can kind of hold space for one another. As I have probably a lot to a lot of energy. And so like she has that
It's much
resting vibe.
appreciated.
Exactly. So I'm happy to be here though, and I'm happy to be live with everyone. So if you are here live and you want to say hello in the chat, feel free to do so. We also posted a question here as just asking you all what do you do that helps you remember your dreams the most? So how like what kind of habits or routines or just like any kind of things that you do, like actions that you've noticed help you to remember your dreams more and be able to grasp them. And so that is what we're going to talk about tonight, essentially, is enhancing your dream recall. And we're going to talk about here in a bit why that's kind of in our space or on our minds right now, because we've been over the past few moon cycles, we've been kind of waxing and waning with our dream recall. And so we witnessed some interesting things in those periods. And so we want to share with you all and kind of hear your tips and just your experiences. So, yeah, let's just get into the astrology for this week as far as dreams and astrology. And so, I have been following closely the lunar phases. I mean, I think that it's really funny. Before I got deeply into dream work, I didn't really pay much attention to the moon except when I wanted to do like a new moon ritual or full moon. And, because it was right there. And it's like there's so much going on in astrology, so many other cycles where it's just like, okay, I will, it's there. So I'll get to it when I get to it, or I feel it when I feel it. It's almost like, when you think about this like magical place that lives, like you live close by to it, and you're like, oh, I'll go visit, I'll go do that thing, I'll go do that thing, and then you never do that thing, and then you move and you're like, oh no,
Yep.
I've
Or they
never,
close.
or they
The
close,
amount of time
right? And so
that's
you're,
happened is
yeah, and so it's really interesting to see, like, witness that in my astrology practice, where it's like I love looking at the moon and connecting with her, but when it came to my practice, aside from new and full moons, I didn't really put a lot of energy into it, I admit, or attention. And so coming into the dream work, it's like that's what I work with the most, and you really get to fully feel the power of like those phases and the 28-day cycle and how that closely relates and is reflected to your dream space. And
Mhm.
so we've been sharing the phases, the lunar phases, and how they might influence your dreams. And so I just want to reflect to Monday, which was March 3rd of this week. And that was the waxing crescent phase. And also, what was really interesting about that period, it was like that day and then into the next day, the moon squared Pluto. So the moon was in Taurus and it squared Pluto in Aquarius. And then the very next day, the moon had a conjunction, which is an alignment with Taurus. So there was like a lot of like groundbreaking, also destabilizing, illuminating energy just in the field with the astrology. And I know I definitely saw that show up in my dream space with the dreams I was having. And yeah, how about you, Alexis?
It's been kind of weird. I've been having some of that show up, like the and when we get to the point where we share our dreams, I'll share the two dreams that I had that kind of like to me correlate with the that moon and Pluto um did you say square? Is that what you
Yeah.
said? Okay. Yeah. I was like, I know the word is right there. It's just pulling it out of my mouth. But a lot of what I've been experiencing this week, and I do think it has a lot to do with the fact that I haven't been getting sleep. And
Mm-hmm.
that'll play a huge role in the way that I remember my dreams. But a lot of my dreams have been in my head. I can visualize them, I can kind of experience them, but I can't translate them from my brain
Mm-hmm.
to like verbalizing them.
Yeah.
And it's been pretty frustrating. I kind of give myself a little bit of leniency though, because it's like, what are you gonna do? You can only do so much about these things. But my dream space has been giving a little bit of a little bit of facing things that I've been neglecting.
Yeah.
And then just kind of like this weird veil of a dream that I can experience but can't talk about. So I can't really dive deeper into it. Not being able to translate that, I'm not able to get
Yeah.
deeper into it. But I did have a really weird experience. I believe it was last week, I had shared. Was it last week? I shared a dream about um, the dream that I had for my Saturn return, and it was a girl that I used to know. And in the dream, they had mentioned that they had passed away, and like I didn't feel shocked or like like I felt shocked, but I wasn't like upset or anything. And I thought that was a really odd dream to have, considering I haven't really thought about or seen this person in forever. And initially, I was like, oh, okay, this is like a closure dream. Well, this past weekend, I came in contact with her and actually looked her in the eyes and then just continued on. But like, it was really, really odd. And the feelings I had in the dream of that shock factor. Oh my God. And now that I'm thinking about it, okay, at this place where I saw them, there are two birds. And one of the birds was upstairs out of their cage. And I remember in this dream, there were free roaming animals and caged animals.
What?
It's so
Oh my
freaking
God.
weird. But anyway, I saw this person in my dream, and the feelings were basically this, or I saw this person in real life. The feelings were basically the same. I was shocked, but I didn't feel any type of way. It was just like, wow. And then that was it. They walked by and left at one point. But I thought it was very peculiar, very curious. I still am not entirely sure how to take it. Aside from like, it's maybe like a very to the point closure aspect type of thing. Like, I don't know. Like, my feelings around seeing them were neutral, as opposed to maybe in the past I felt anxious. So
Mhm.
I almost feel like it really did indicate that I have like moved forward in my life.
Yeah.
But that was the big thing that happened this weekend, of me just being like, whoa, okay.
That is so crazy. And I love that. You and I both have been having some precognitive
Yep.
experiences. And sometimes it's like I sit with it and, I'm like, is there a deeper meaning here? Yes, no, maybe so. Well, I'm gonna say always yes. Yes or maybe. Very rarely am I gonna be like, no, it's no big deal. But I think that also it is our like inner being, our that part of ourself that is connected to like the wise, knowings of who we are and where we're going and just where all the information is stored, right? And it's like very timeless. And it's like I feel the like those precognitive moments, especially when it's like just like little random details. It's like a nudge from them that it's like, hey, we're here with you, or you're like absolutely like you're definitely connected.
Yep.
And it's just, it's like a wink. I always feel like it's a wink or a tickle from the universe. And so I don't know. I just like, it wasn't my dream, it wasn't my experience, but it tickled me the same way because, we just always share that. And I'm like, yes, that's the best feeling. Even if you don't
Yeah.
understand the why,
Yep.
it's just even more so you're like, whoa, like what is happening here? Like, this shit is really real. The magic's real, all the
Yeah.
things, you know. So that was just an amazing share. And, Alexis and I pointed out too or Alexis really pointed this out. And I definitely agreed where this was definitely a Venus retrograde type
Hmm.
experience. And yeah, it's like, yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say more than that, but it definitely is this just very beautiful, like inspiring experience that like we're going to talk about here tonight is that it's really hard to put into words,
Yep.
really, because the words don't do it justice. And so
No.
we're going to talk a bit about that. But one of the things I do want to point out, I guess, for this week, just paying attention to your dreams is on actually, so it'll be pretty much for the rest of this weekend, so from March 6th to basically Sunday or Monday morning, the moon's going to be in her first quarter phase, beginning in Gemini. And I think that I do feel that this is like a really powerful phase because with what I'm learning with the full moon phase is that it's a point in which our dreams may reflect some sort of like major obstacle that, or also might provide us with some solutions on overcoming a major obstacle that's showing up for us right now. And when I consider the first quarter moon in astrology, it is the moment of like crisis in action, where it's like you're invited to step into this like the new territory, or to step into like to take action basically.
Yeah.
um, and to show up in a way that might be a little bit different, but it takes courage, it takes resilience and trust. And so there's that dark aspect of the moon, and then you have like the light aspect of the moon, which could represent the known, the comfort. And so you have the half light, half dark experience. And so our dream space may reflect that. And one of the things that I was coming across is that with the first quarter moon too, the way it could show up in your dreams is like, through doorways or crossroads or
Mm.
thresholds, just like at that point of like, even like at a cliff, like just those kind of, even like maybe a cliffhanger dream, and the dream experience within itself and the emotion and what happens after that kind of dream is what will, catalyze you or inspire you to take action. Or maybe it makes you incredibly anxious and you're just like, no, wait, I'm not ready. And that is information and guidance within itself. Like maybe there's more that you need to do, or, whatever it is. So I just wanted to point that out to pay attention to this week. And especially as we are coming into the eclipse season, which begins the following week. The eclipse is on, I believe, the 14th of this month. So
I
it's
think that's
a
right.
lunar eclipse in Virgo. Yeah. And so, oh yeah, what I was going to say about this particular moon though, because it's going to be in Gemini, and the major theme that I'm picking up for this Pisces lunar season or lunar cycle and Pisces season is this kind of tension between intuition and logic. And so I can see that there's a possibility that through our dreams we might have like a showcase of, maybe where there's tension between using our intuition and our logic. And of course, like there's some sort of balance, but maybe we're leaning more into like the intuition can kind of be more like this fantasy, or it's like, how do I know to trust my intuition? And so, versus like being practical about things. And so, yeah, it just be kind of curious and fun to pay attention to your dreams.
Yeah, and when you say the logical and your intuition, that kind of, for me, just represents integrating the dream space into your waking space, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, I really like that correlation with that. And I wanted to real quick mention, so I was watching and listening our last recall video, which was February 28th of 2024. So I
Mhm.
just think it's really funny that it's February 5th now, or I mean,
Yeah.
March 5th now, basically almost exactly a year. I didn't know that we had done that video almost a year ago. I thought
Wow.
that correlation too was really interesting.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't realize that either. So I might have to like pop that onto the YouTube channel
Yeah.
after this so you guys can check that out. That's cool. Yeah, because that was before we officially had a podcast and we were
Oh,
just
yeah.
doing the same thing on YouTube, but it was like really, really unofficial.
Yeah.
So we have some folks here in the chat. We have Richard of Carver says, "What up, crew? Peace and love." Gave some follows on Insta, so I'm one step closer to sharing dreams. Yes, I saw
Yay.
that, and I'm pretty sure I followed you back, but I'm definitely gonna follow you back. I'm gonna check that out. What helps me recall is waking up a little earlier than I need so I can close my eyes and replay it. Yeah,
I
that's really
like
helpful.
that. How
Yeah.
you don't just fall right back to sleep is beyond me, because let me tell you, I mentioned this last year too. I have a horrible tendency to not be able to actually wake up. Like, I call it I talk about it like I'm too busy in the dream space to wake up into the reality. Like I'm too busy. So
Yeah.
like for you to wake up and be able to lay there with your eyes closed and like reflect on it, I would have already been completely back in that space.
Yeah. That's what I've noticed that my dream recall, like one of the things I have to do, like I literally have to do it or I'll lose it really quickly, unless it's a dream where it's like, I'm just not going to forget it. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, over time you will, but like I
Well,
know
yeah.
when a dream will stick with me for the day. But usually I have to run the dream through my mind. Like if I plan on writing it, especially, it's like I got to keep playing it until I can get to like either a voice message to Alexis or writing it down or
Mm-hmm.
recording it in some other way. And my biggest challenge, which we were going to talk, I mean, whatever, we can just flow organically. My biggest challenge is when I get up, like I've already had a long standing, just automatic action or behavior of, like, for the most part, going into like some sort of fantasy place when I wake up, that I will naturally go into that, and then I'll go on a whole nother travel, and I'm like, I'm either laying there with my eyes closed or like, awake or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I lose a dream. Or, obviously if I get on my phone, which has been something that happens too, then I'm trying,
Yeah.
like I really hate doing that in the morning, but then of course I would lose my dream. So that's definitely a good point, is like replaying it in your mind. Um but yeah, I feel like, Richard, that'd probably be a good way to go back into the dream if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
If you like woke up out of it and then you're just like laying there replaying everything and like Alexa said, falling back asleep. And then that seems to be kind of an easy route to get back into the dream if you desire, if you like have that intention.
I think that another too a point that what you said was like I also have to think about it a little bit too, because what'll happen is I'll wake up and the end of the dream will be extremely clear and you can still basically be in it, but then the beginning of the dream will kind of be like an essence. And if I don't sit and think about that dream for a little while, that little essence of the beginning of the dream might dissipate despite me having a very strong um, presence of that last part.
Yeah. And that's my thing too. I tend to, so I have most of my dreams, at least from what I remember. Like I do wake up in the middle of the night with a dream, but I have most of my dreams, like I guess in the morning. Like I'll wake up sometimes around 3, and then
Mhm.
I'll wake up around like, because I have to get up early. Usually I'm up by like 7 before 7:30 because my child, right? And so I will have like 2 or 3 dreams that sequence back to back. And then it's like, which one do I write down? And of course, the one that happened the soonest, I remember the most. And yeah, but then it's always like a battle because I'll have like, if I have 2 dreams that I can generally remember both of them and I need to write them down. But if I have 3 dreams, it's like a battle, like who's gonna make it, to
Yeah.
documentation. So yeah, that's a good point.
I have been having a very difficult time with discipline. And I
Yeah.
think that the immediate distraction has been keeping me from being able to really get down the majority of my dreams. And I don't mean just like the storyline, but also like the way I feel, the way things smell, the humidity and temperature and everything involved. And I'm kind of like kicking myself a little bit for that because it's not that difficult to have a little bit of discipline around my dream space,
Just to write the emotion.
but it's so easy to
At
be
bare.
lazy.
I
It's
know.
so easy to be lazy. It comes
Like
naturally.
I'm like, just write your emotion. And for me, it's like, well, if I'm gonna already be writing, then I'm just gonna write.
Exactly.
And then it's like, but then I'm like, but I don't feel like it,
Yeah.
you know. Like
And I,
I'll
I
just
feel like I want to kick myself. Like, I know that there was
or
so much
you'll get to it
value
later.
in that.
Yeah. It's like I'll do it later and then the day gets away from you.
Yeah.
So Jace is here. Jace says, greetings, ladies. I usually remember my dream right when I wake up. On chance, I don't know why I didn't remember them, but I do try to work my way back into details to try and figure them out from the last bit I remembered.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
backtracking.
Yeah. Yeah, I've done that too.
Mm-hmm.
And like I really have the perfectionist quality that's so frustrating where it's like, well, I don't want to sit here. Like, I can think, I guess, backtrack in my mind, but then I want to write things down and I don't want to like just write. Like, I'm funny about my journals. Like, I have to write it like in like a story or whatever. And so
Yeah.
for me to like, I would have to first do it on a separate page and
Mm-hmm.
then transfer it. And it's just like, I'll just get the
It's
next.
so easy to be lazy. Like it just comes naturally. And like I think so when we were talking off camera, I think it was either yesterday or today we were talking about for lunar solar eclipse season doing like a ritual, like doing like an experiment of some sort. And I think my one of my things is going to be more discipline, like
Yeah.
actual intentional discipline because there's no reason for me not to.
Yeah. Go big or
I'm
go
just
home with the
I'm
eclipse.
literally just being lazy. There's no reason for me not to. Oh God, I'm so
You know,
mad at
once you
myself.
get it, it's the hardest part is getting started.
Yes.
Once you get into the flow, then you will start to flow with it. But it's just like for me, my best excuse is my child, where I'm just like, if I don't wake up before her, forget about it because it's just constant touching. Yeah, got to get up, got to do this, so but I'm proud of myself where I've developed a yoga routine in the morning, and so now it's like I've noticed recently I have to pick and choose where it's like, okay, I'm gonna either write my dream or do yoga. I can't do both. Like when she has school, I can't do both. And because once she's up, then it's like, and I'm
Yeah.
not gonna get up that much earlier than her
No.
because fuck that.
Actually,
Um,
I have a question about that. Now I know you said you don't do both when you're taking her to school and whatnot, but on days where she's off, do you do both?
sometimes I have,
Do
yeah.
you find that the yoga helps with the dream recall?
Does it? Um, I haven't really noticed yet because it hasn't happened that often. And, there's I like to write the dream before I do yoga
Okay.
because
Yep.
Um, which I don't that's only happened as far as writing the dream, or no, doing yoga before the dream has probably happened once or twice. And I don't like doing that because I still have to like concentrate on the dream. The only time I can do that is if it's a dream where I'm like, ooh, like I'm eager to write it down. I'm not going to forget it. So then I
Yeah,
can drop in. But yeah, no, I definitely have to write before um I do it. Or sometimes if like there has been a time where she did have school, and I can recall this really clearly, and the dream was like short enough that I had time to like write it after I did yoga. But in certain points of my phase, like I have to do yoga, I've noticed, because it like helps, like, because my body's really stiff, like most of us in the morning, my body's
yeah.
really stiff, and like depending on where I am in my cycle, it's like, ooh, I need to stretch, or like I'm gonna be in some pain. So
I've
uh,
been so bad with that lately. I completely get that.
yeah. Yeah. And the yoga that I have for mornings is like 10 minutes, and it's basically stretching. So,
Yeah,
is it
which
yoga?
is perfect. It's perfect. All you need to do is loosen up your muscles a little bit.
Right. I just
That's
need to do
it.
something. Otherwise, I'm going to be tight, and I'm going to, especially in the winter time, because you're already,
Oh, for sure.
very tense and everything.
And you have to
So,
think about too, like it gets so dry. When you're in
yeah.
the humidity, it's like it's you have more humid to you. And when you're
Yeah.
dry, you don't have as much. So everything kind of does feel just a little uh
Yeah. Yeah. No, I definitely, and this winter was kind of brutal here in upstate New York, where it's just like, feeling in your bones. And I just like, I run dry, I run cold. So I'm just like, hovering in. And that's how I'm in the bed too. I'm like, I got like a sweater on, or,
oh yeah.
just like a cardigan in bed.
Yes, absolutely. And it's so
So yeah,
stupid too because I'll do the same thing. I'll be freezing 99.9% of the day. And then at like 3 in the morning, I'm burning up for
oh, I
like
know.
20
Yeah.
minutes and that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. It's gotten a little bit warmer here where I can crack the window, which is really
Oh,
nice.
that sounds
So
amazing.
I'm just like, cool breeze.
I love particularly when it's winter and you have the window open because it's like that
Wow.
cool breeze. I don't know where it is next to you on the bed, but we always had ours like right behind our bed frame. So
Oh
it
my,
would blow like on our face.
yeah. It's on the right side of like where my head lays. So next,
Mm-hmm.
so it's really nice.
That sounds amazing.
All right. So here we are, friends. And the reason that, or the inspiration for this chat, is because, like, what you've been hearing, that for the past couple moon cycles, we have been having some challenges, like just really having the discipline in writing our dreams. Now, Alexis and I do a really good job of generally sharing our dreams via voice message. So I do feel that helps a lot.
1,000 times.
But lately we've been experiencing just like, and it could be like a Pisces thing too, where it's like it's so hard to put the dreams into words. And I've had this experience for myself where I just had to record. I started doing an audio diary this weekend, and I just had to record the dream because it was just, there was so much detail that I didn't feel like writing it. And it was like, to talk was easier than putting pen to paper,
Yeah.
to really put it into words, because I feel like when you're speaking, it's like a stream of consciousness, at least.
Yes.
When you're like writing, it's like, it's some organization and more focus. And so it's just like, to draw this dream down and to articulate it into words can be difficult, but we can fully feel it, and we can really like visualize it like it just happened. And so I've just been like, what is this? Like, I think I'm so fascinated by that in like so many ways. It feels very like Piscean to me, where you can just like, it's all a feeling, it's energy, you can see it with your mind's eye. And when it comes to translating it into like words, it's like, ugh.
Yeah, it's very like ethereal, but also very like secretive and hidden. Like it's like you're not supposed to share it. It's only
Yeah,
supposed to be within you, which is interesting in itself. And it absolutely aligns with the Pisces energy for sure. Just
yeah,
like in another world, floating away.
Yeah, so I just did, a random Google search because I was like looking through my books about this and there wasn't really anything. And so of course there are some things that popped up on Reddit. And there was one person who had a blog, and this one was just specifically, this blog writing was specifically on dreams. Like they just started a dream diary, and it was funny, they were like, no one's gonna read this, I'm not gonna publish this. Like there's just like some deep, like really powerful and intimate things in there, which I felt, I don't know, that made me feel good for whatever reason,
Yeah.
because like, yes, it's so intimate, it's so personal. But yeah, and they expressed how, even in sharing dreams, it's kind of like when you try to describe, like, say, music to someone, and it's like, if you've never heard this sound before, like, how do you describe it? Like, it's more so about even what or how it makes you feel. And so it's like one of those experiences where you just kind of have to be there, even if it's
Yeah.
like me writing it on paper. It's like I'm there right now, but it's like to draw it down into this reality, it's like not happening. And it's
Yeah.
just really interesting to me.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what the comment section ends up being like with this specific feeling, because like you said, it's not really in our books,
Yeah.
and it is such a perplexing, I don't know, it's very interesting. It's very, because normally you have dreams that are kind of there and you remember them, you can write them down, or you have dreams that you don't remember at all. But like that in between space of like remembering your dreams but not being able to translate it, it's a different kind of experience, and it's a different kind of frustration.
Yeah. One point I came across too is that dreams tend to be, outside the limits of like even this reality, outside the limits of language, especially
Mm-hmm.
when you consider dreams within itself, how it's generally not in words, right? It's all symbols and emotions and sensory. And so I mean, yes, we do see words and dreams, but to like even talking, like I very rarely hear, when I think about talking to dream people, I very rarely hear the person talking. It's like more of like a knowing or telepathic,
Telepathic, yeah.
or an emotion is communicated and shared. And so it's like the words aren't there. I feel like the words are, I don't know. Again, it's really hard um to kind of pinpoint that, because yeah, it's like dreams are outside of like even this perspective, this dimension in a sense. And so it might take a little bit more effort to like translate what you're experiencing, what you're feeling into words, because even when we're feeling emotions, like how do we all have difficulty sharing how we're feeling.
Yeah. And to add to that too, dreaming is its own language. So it's like you have parts of it that you can translate, and then parts of it that's we're still learning. We're still learning how to move through and how to get out, and you know, we might always have this aspect, especially depending on where we are in the zodiac climate and what's
Right.
going on with the transits.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not something we'll ever really be able to
Right.
uncover. Maybe it's just a part of the dream language.
Yeah. And it's like with language, it is like when I was speaking about like having the focus and the organization and the time to write, that feels so linear. Like even the time aspect where you're just like, okay, I have to like mark off this point of literally like writing things down. And so with dreams, like that linear point of or experience is not generally a thing in dreams. Like it's all over the place.
Oh yeah.
It's like 1 minute you're here, 1 minute someone's there, and then they're gone, and then you're in this place, and like, then something's like you're chasing you, and it's all over the place. It's not
Yeah.
linear. You're always traveling. There's always different experiences happening. And so when I think about that too, it's really interesting to like reflect on when I've had those interesting experiences and dreams, and then trying to write that, like I have to literally, like I've developed some sort of system too in my recording where, I'll just say, I don't like saying someone disappears because it seems like that's like a bad thing, or like
Mm-hmm.
maybe like, oh, like why they disappear. It's just like, no, they're not in the scene anymore. Or what, I still
Yeah.
haven't like figured out a way that I like to describe that. And so it's
Yeah.
really when you think about it from that perspective.
It is interesting when you think about it from that perspective, because I don't think I've thought about it like that before, in the sense of like, well, where are they? Where'd they go? Because I've had dreams where literally somebody's walking with me, and then as I enter into a new threshold, a new area, I'm by myself. But there's no fusion of them leaving. Like there's no recognition of them being gone until they're completely gone. And it's like, well, where did they go? Were they no longer useful in this space anymore? Are they off screen doing something like else? Like, what's going on? Why are you not here with me, even though you seemed like a staple in the dream?
Yeah. Yeah. So I feel like, I mean, I feel like that's the basis of it, really. I think that we kind of like hit that nail on the head. I think that's the way it's said, the saying
Oh, for
said.
sure.
Jace is agreeing in the comments, saying we are limited in our material understanding and how to explain something that can be beyond the physical. And in dreams, time can be compressed. And like you said, it's not linear, but cyclic. And which has been explained by people who have had near death experiences as time not being the same in other sides. Yeah, no, totally. And just perspectives changing. And it's just, there's so much going on. It's like, how do you had to be there. Like you
Yeah.
have to be there.
Yep.
And so it's really interesting to draw that down. And I think that in reference to enhancing dream recall, like when I'm in these moments of not being able to put it into words, I'm trying to think like, what do I like? Sometimes I'm just like, you know what? I also surrender, and I'm like, you know what? I see it, I feel it. If it's meant for me to write it down, I'll write it down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like sometimes I will, and I'm not the pro at this, Alexis is, but I mean, there's only been two times that I've actually drawn my dreams, like the
Mm-hmm.
visual. And sometimes you do feel compelled. Like in those two times, I'm like, I don't draw, or, I suck at this, but I'm gonna do it because I need to get this out.
Yeah, especially when you don't have the words to describe what you're seeing and what you're experiencing. Like, I think that's one of the more helpful aspects of this type of dilemma in relation to translating the dream language is sometimes all you can do is see. So what you are putting down on paper might be just what you're seeing, even if it's like a scribble. I mean, I personally,
Yeah.
I have full blown pieces of art that represent the dreams that I've had, and then I have little scribbles where it's like stick figures walking through a door, some random ass
Fucking
stuff, but it's something. It's something to be able to pull out whatever is feels stuck in that space and untranslatable. It may be the only way for you to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, really, it really is. And now what's coming to mind too, I'm like, maybe I should create like a playlist or something for myself, because I'm definitely a music person as well. And I don't know, I'm just like, I don't even know how that would work, but that just kind of popped into my head. It's just like, how are other ways for us? What other ways are there for us to record our dreams,
Yeah.
if we can. And again, it's like sometimes you just have to surrender to just having that feeling and having that visual, and being, complete with that. And at other times, yeah, getting creative. And I know, as far as just enhancing my dream recall in general, I will share it with Alexis or
Mm-hmm.
Jace or Mary, if I can, because sometimes I'm just moving so fast. Like I
Yeah.
think yesterday I ended up recording that dream too. but I shared my dream that I had with you yesterday.
Hmm.
And I tend to do that if I feel like I don't have time, but I don't want to lose it. And I
That,
know
yeah.
even if I don't come back to the voice message, I think that helps to remember. Like, so I'll
Hmm.
remember more, like, because it's that act of like always sharing and always writing. And so your subconscious is programming itself. And it's like, okay, yeah, we're gonna keep doing this. And so even if I don't come back to the voice message or I never write it down, just the act of sharing it outside of myself and getting it outside of myself is going to help enhance the dream recall.
I completely agree with that. And I feel like that's something that I find to be one of the most helpful aspects is sharing it through a voice message. And I have to say, I'm not as inclined to record myself alone with the voice or with the dream. I'm more likely to send it to you than I am to do it for myself. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's that aspect of one, we, help each other interpret our dreams anyway as soon as we send them, whenever we get around to listening to, we're like, oh, this sounds like this and this could possibly be this.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that absolutely one of the most helpful aspects
Mm-hmm.
because having a different perspective on your dream space is incredibly enlightening. But also, for me personally, to do something for myself is kind of like pulling teeth. Whereas
Yeah,
like if
we're
I
all like
do it
that.
with the intention of like this is for Urania, this is a dream I think maybe Urania would like to hear,
Yeah.
I'm more likely
Yeah.
to share it with you because
Oh yeah.
I'm it's the act of doing something for someone else.
Right.
And I know it's
Especially
so
too if it's like if there's already history, like,
Mhm.
oh, this dream person. Like for me,
Yeah.
my inspiration recently was like, oh, like this is some tea on this dream person that keeps showing up in my dreams. Like, what
Yes.
is happening? So it
Yeah,
could be like little things like that. And I think that even that excitement and that inspiration will like encourage, the dream recall. And this is why we say it's so important to have like one at least one person that you can share with, not just like hear you out. And yeah.
absolutely. And to go back on your playlist idea, I think that's an excellent idea because one of the things I do when I'm having difficulty with translating my dream from my brain to the material world is that even if I'm busy, I linger on it in silence. So there are days where I drive to work in silence because I can't have other voices in the way.
Mhm.
Like I need to exist within the dream that I just had while it's there, knowing that I'm not able to put it elsewhere. And I almost feel like if you created a playlist that was more along the lines of like ambiance and like a white noise or brown noise or pink noise or a collection of different just like instrumental things that'll help you kind of hone in on what you're trying to visualize, as you're spending that time in your solitude.
Yeah. No, I think I do that too at times, especially when it comes to just in general, when I'm have something that I need to focus on. I mean, that makes sense. You're focusing. So it's like
Yeah.
outside noise, like, yes, and that's how I easily get distracted. Like I say, once my child is up, it's like, that's gone out the window for the most part, unless it was something just that I am really not going to forget.
Yeah.
What I will say, since I started talking to Alexis about dreams and getting back into the dream work, I like my dream recall has really enhanced.
Mine
And
as well.
when I first started talking to Alexis, I was so impressed with how you would just remember, even though you didn't write them down, you would just remember dreams or remember certain scenes from the dreams, like when we would have conversations about specific topics. And this is like, I mean, from as early as when we were just like talking on Instagram lives.
Hmm.
And I was like, whoa, I don't think I ever said it to you, but I was just like, how does she like remember all of that? Like she has a lot of dreams that that are just in her head. And I know some of them you've written them down, but now that I've been doing this, like this is my life, that happens to me all the time where I'm just like,
Yep.
I remember them even though I don't write them down. Of course, I don't remember them in full detail, but I remember just like little bits of them. And we could be having a conversation about something, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, that dream, you know? And so
Yes.
yeah, I was just like, it's interesting just to be on this side of it after like seeing you doing that. And I was like, how the fuck does she like remember this? Especially like she smokes weed and like she's
Yeah, I mean,
busy.
I love that
But
so
yeah,
much
yeah,
because, for me, prior to talking to you, I just was like in my world, like I didn't realize that dreaming was something that one, everybody did because nobody really talked about it. Two, was something that was more important than, you know, we give it credit for. But
hmm,
also like I would remember just like I remember my memories, but I didn't see that as being significant. Like
yeah,
it didn't cross my mind as something spectacular. But I'm so grateful for it now that I'm acknowledging it. I'm so grateful because having an equal amount of memory storage of my memories from the waking realm and my memories from the dreaming realm is very interesting, and it can help kind of like integrate different areas of my life and what I was going through and how it was being translated in my dreams, whether it was precognitive, whether it was a nightmare, whether it was, guidance. It's very interesting, and I also love that precog act the precognitive aspect of that comes up more. The more you remember your dreams, the more
yeah,
it happens. So like
yeah,
deja vu's, I always was like, oh, I have these all the time. I didn't realize until I was an adult that they were actually dreams that I had
hmm,
that were coming true. It wasn't like some like
yeah,
random thing. Like I can actually track the dream now. Like be in a room at a party that I had been in a dream, and then these things line up, and all of a sudden I'm like, well, that's weird. I don't know when this dream occurred, but I
mhm,
definitely was here. So
yeah,
it's really interesting, and it also makes you question like what are your dreams tied to in this reality, and how it pertains to time, and there's so many interesting aspects of it. But I am
yeah.
so proud of you, and I'm so grateful for our journey together. And I just, every
Thank
time we talk about dreams, you always just give me so much important feedback on my dream space that I don't pick up right off the bat, that I
yeah.
appreciate
Likewise,
significantly.
likewise for sure. And you made a good point too when you mentioned memory. I think that's something that we didn't touch on as far as like when you're in this waves of like, oh, your dream recall is strong, and then it waxes and wanes basically. And of course, there's the factor of what's happening as far as like in your world. Are you really, really busy and distracted? And what's your focus like? What's your capacity within your mental space? That's a big thing too, but also like if you are implementing practices, just in your day-to-day life that will help to enhance your memory or your cognitive ability in general, that will of course, reflect on your ability to remember dreams
Yep,
and hold on to those. And so that's a really good point. As dreams can be like really like can be fleeting, and
absolutely.
or ability to hold that space or have that space within your mind is like important too for enhancing your dream recall.
Absolutely. One of the things I want to mention too is that with dream recall, it may be difficult at first as you're learning to capture everything you'd like to. But, something as simple as telling yourself you're going to remember your dreams every day can do a lot.
Mhm.
That aspect of like how much intention you put into something and will actually come through. So if you intentionally want to remember your dreams and you're like disciplined and diligent and confident and optimistic, those things are going to come through a lot easier.
Yeah, and you just reminded me as I was like going through Reddit on this topic, and there wasn't really a lot, but there was someone who mentioned that they were working on their dream recall to like strengthen it and to remember their dreams in general. And they were, doing probably like the mantras or the affirmations about I remember my dreams. And they said that at one point they had a dream that they were writing their dream in the dream. And then I don't know, I can't remember if it was like when
That's
they
so
woke up or
funny.
it was in the dream. I think it's when they woke up, they went to their dream journal. They were kind of confused at first because the dream that they were writing wasn't in the dream journal. And I was like, oh, that's cool.
That
And
is
they
cool.
said that they were really excited because they felt like they were closer to like lucid dreaming.
Hmm.
So I was like, yeah, that's really cool. And I was like, oh,
That's
I haven't
awesome.
had
I love
that.
that.
Yeah. So they were really focusing on like writing their dreams. But yeah, so I'm curious to see what kind of dreams we'll have and how this goes. I'm really excited to see what dreams come forth for eclipse season because
Oh, me too.
Pisces, I mean, eclipses and Pisces, and well, actually, it's going to be in Virgo and Aries, but still in the lunar cycle of Pisces, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I'm very interested. I'm really going to do some dream incubation. We talked about doing experimental, things with tea. That sounds weird. And we talked about doing like like
It
a
ain't that
like an
crazy.
eclipse.
That sounded really awesome, actually. They're like, what? Mushrooms, mugwort, what blue
Yeah.
lotus?
So so our idea is to be like a little bit ritualistic with, experimenting with, drinking mugwort every night, or, maybe
Yeah,
doing a dream meditation. Like it would be really
good
cool
one.
to like
Yeah.
record our own dream meditation and kind of just like listen to it every
Yeah.
night.
As long as
Um
we don't get distracted, maybe we should record ourselves like for the other.
yeah,
That would
yeah.
be interesting too.
That
Like
would be
you had one for me and
interesting.
I had one for you.
Yes. That's so fun. I love
Yeah.
that because, like, I don't know about you, I'm sure you feel similarly, but I love guided meditations,
Yeah.
especially when the person who is doing the guided meditation puts a lot of thought and energy in imagination into the story that they're basically
Yeah.
guiding you through, but also like the enthusiasm around it. So I would absolutely do that. But even
Yeah,
that,
that's
even the aspect of
amazing.
having an accountability partner,
Hmm.
like, Urania and I, that's what we are for each other. We
Hmm.
have been encompassing our life since, basically since we met, around focusing on our dream work and integration. So if you can find somebody in your life who is also into dreaming or wants to be into dreaming, and you can kind of like share every day, like, oh, did you have a dream? Oh, you didn't, or you did and only you only remember being sad in it, or you remember being at your parents' house and something happening, or you remember a full-fledged dream. If you can like have these conversations with that person, that'll be something that will help, just ignite your memories.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. Yeah, having that accountability and it just makes it even more exciting, I feel, because
It
like if
really
you
does.
have those precognitive experiences, because for a second when Alexis reached out and mentioned, she was like, oh, do you remember I had this dream? And for some reason I didn't remember, like I remember the person dying, but I didn't remember someone like setting up a funeral. So I was like, like just as much as her dreams are fleeting, my dreams are fleeting, her dreams are fleeting for me, and I know vice versa.
Wait,
So well, I had what?
no, go ahead, but I have
No,
something
no,
to
I
say
was just
about that
saying,
too.
like basically, once I actually recalled it, I was like, wait, was that the dream you just shared like a couple of days ago? And so then we both had the like freak out moment. It was cool.
I found out. Okay, so real quick, just a quick recap. The dream, I was in this random house. I was walking around. There were caged animals and there were animals free. I came across this woman. The woman's face was blurred. I asked if she had seen this person. She said that she had passed away, and this person was crying, but you couldn't tell because her face was blurry, and that she was preparing her funeral. The cafe that I saw this person at, again, one of the birds was upstairs out of the cage, the other was in the cage. I found
Wait,
out
just so
the
you guys
day
are clear,
before.
Alexis saw this person and the person that supposedly died in the dream,
Mhm.
she saw the person in a cafe a couple days
Yes.
later. Okay.
This
Yeah.
cafe, I found out the day before, used to be a funeral home.
No, wait, did you tell?
Yeah.
I think you told me
No,
that.
no,
You
I
didn't tell
didn't.
me that? Why
I
does that sound
completely
familiar?
forgot that happened until I was just talking about it. And I was like, this is fucking insane. I don't even know. Like, it's just crazy. It's just crazy.
Oh, wow. This is funny. Yeah. Which is funny. This is like not related, but just in the realm of funeral homes. I'm going to the temple that I was going to frequently, I think last year a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which used to be a funeral home. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. I'm going on Sunday. But anyway, so I was just like, what the heck is
I just, it
but
is
that's
so interesting.
crazy.
And
What?
I only now realized that. Like,
Wow.
I was like, oh yeah, this is so cool. It used to be a funeral home, da da da. I hadn't connected the dots to that dream until just now. What are the fucking chances? See,
Right. So
you
that's
can't
three
explain it.
things: the caged animals, the person, and the funeral, like the funeral home,
Yep.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So and this is the thing when Alexis mentioned this to me, I was like, what does this mean? Like, I'm like, it's so I don't know. You never know. Like you just have to like live your life, wait and
Yeah.
see. And
Well, no, not even was it just the three. It was that fourth aspect of me initially feeling shock, but not
yeah,
being emotional or having
yeah.
any kind of anxiety or anything. And that's exactly how I felt
That's
when
how
I
you felt
had
in the
that
dream.
interaction.
Oh, I
Like,
love
I
that.
saw this person, I had a shot of shock through me, but I didn't feel anything.
Yeah,
And I almost feel like this was just one of those dreams that was like, this is how far you are, and this is how far you've come.
yeah.
And it felt like a really optimistic, like a good omen type of
Oh
thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And what I was getting from it too, just on the other side, my little perspective on it was that just knowing where you are in your spiritual journey and a lot of, work and just all of the work, right, that we do in integration on these paths and like how far you come, I felt like that was also like a little gift from your inner being,
Yes.
just to be like, hey, don't doubt this. Whatever you're doing, there's no need to doubt. Like, stop doubting yourself, like imposter syndrome, all of that bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, no, this is real, and what you're doing is real work and really important, and you are connected.
a
Right. So
hundred
it's
percent.
like, do not
Yeah.
doubt yourself in your intuition and all that stuff. So
And
I
that's why
was
it's
so
so
happy.
important to integrate your dream work, because you really do build up your confidence around your own intuition, and it just helps you trust
Yeah,
your gut more.
absolutely. So we have a last few comments here. Whew, my words are starting to escape. So Richard says, a friend that does tarot in real life found me in a dream and called me to the side and did a tarot reading in my actual dream. Okay, let me read this again so I can follow. A friend that does tarot in real life found me in a dream and called me to the side and did a tarot reading in the dream, in his actual dream. Okay. And then remembered two cards and told him, and they aren't real apparently. So he had two cards in the tarot or in the dream that ended up not being real in real life. That's interesting.
That is
I wonder what the
interesting.
cards were and how they interpreted that. That's really cool. Like you could go so deep with that
You
too.
can.
So Jay says, this is why I like to use the technical term of us being connected to a network like the collective unconsciousness. Yeah. Okay, I see that. I see where you're
Yeah.
going.
I see your
Yeah.
Aquarius coming through, Jace.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's referring to how dreams aren't like linear
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
that. Yeah. And then Courtney, hello,
Hey,
Courtney.
Courtney.
Courtney says, sometimes I'll remember a dream I forgot about with a scent, seeing something or a song lyric. I like
Mm.
that.
Yeah. Well, and I love that things can just trigger your dream
Yeah.
memories.
Yeah.
Like, even just having a conversation around something random, one word can trigger an entire dream that you had like a couple weeks ago that you completely forgot about.
Yeah. That's absolutely on point. All right. Well, I feel really complete with this. So we forgot to share some fun announcements with you all, but every week, Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, we facilitate a dream circle where you can come and chat with us obviously live. Like we're
Yeah,
all on
it's a
camera.
private group,
It's a
but yeah.
private group, very intimate. And yeah, we don't record anything. It's just a very intimate, sacred gathering of us sharing our dreams, talking about all these topics. So if you felt inspired by this conversation, we would love to, and you want to learn more or share more, we would love to connect with you in our intimate space. So
Absolutely.
link for that is, of course, in the description of this video. And if you're watching on or listening on Spotify, you'll see it in the caption or description of the episode. And so thank you so much for being here. We've been getting more subscribers, more followers on Spotify and Instagram too. It's been amazing, and this is so much fun. And yeah, we love doing this.
Yes. And in the short future, which I don't know when it's going to be, but we're working on a giveaway. So
Yes.
I'm
Oh
not
my
going to disclose
gosh.
any
Yeah.
details for this,
Yeah, that's gonna be
but
awesome.
we're going to be working on a little fun dream giveaway,
Yeah.
and I'm super excited. When we get an idea of like a more solid idea of how we want to go about it, we'll
We'll definitely
disclose
share it.
more, but
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
so excited.
Yeah. There's so much fun stuff happening. So hang with us, share with us. And of course, if you want to share a dream or ask any questions, feel free to reach out on our socials or email theinnerversepodcast@gmail.com. And yeah, I think that's all I got. I could keep rambling, but then and I'm gonna stop making sense very, very soon. So
I'm
I
right
think
there with you. So subscribe, follow us on all of the things, Instagram, Spotify, YouTube, and TikTok. We are on
oh
TikTok
yeah, we're on
now.
TikTok now.
So yeah.
All right, guys, sweet dreams.
Bye.
Wow, that was really good.
That was good.